I told my vegan sister to serve meat story. Hey all, I'm genuinely torn about this and need some clarity. Every year, our family has a reunion where different members host. This year, it's my younger sister's turn. She's been vegan for about 3 years and is quite passionate about it. We all respect her choices and make sure there are a good variety of vegan options whenever we have family gatherings. When she announced she'd be hosting, she also said that the entire menu would be vegan to align with her beliefs, and that it's a chance for the family to try something different. Some family members were excited, but others, including many of the older folks, were pretty upset and felt like they were being forced into her lifestyle, even if just for one meal. I spoke to her privately and asked if she'd be open to including a few non-vegan dishes for those who aren't keen on a full vegan menu. She got quite defensive, saying this was her chance to showcase veganism and that for one meal, everyone can give it a go. I respect her beliefs, but I also think that forcing an entire family to adopt her choices, even if just for one meal, isn't fair. She's now upset with me for not being supportive and says I'm not respecting her choices. Did I mess up here? Response 1: honestly, I think you're the a-hole. Not in a big way. I get, it's not what you usually look forward to or are used to with meals. But it's one meal. I grew up with 2 vegetarian friends, the whole family, and when they had me over, even as a kid, I knew I shouldn't expect or ask for meat. You say you respect her beliefs, but want her to go against them for you all in her own home. Veganism is based on a strongly held personal belief related to their morals, and in that way is similar to religion. You wouldn't go somewhere a Muslim is hosting and expect them to still serve pork to you because you love and eat it. You're asking her to put aside her beliefs for your taste. There is still tons of variety and delicious options with vegan food. So much. Be more open-minded to something different for one meal. If you really expect just completely hate any meal with no animal products, smash a burger beforehand and politely pick whatever looks best when you're there. Reply 1: meh. I get you, but she's accommodated at everyone else's house. She has no interest in reciprocating that courtesy. She too can smash a vegan meal beforehand and just pick at whatever looks okay for her when she's visiting. No, it goes both ways. Also, she's not being a great host in that you want your guests to be comfortable. All the rules that would apply to her being taken care of at others' houses apply to her hosting as well. Finally, she's using the meal to showcase veganism, so it's part reunion party, part evangelizing. Neat. Everyone sucks here. They should all be more flexible. Reply 2: not to mention that people like OP often to refuse eat vegan food out of ignorance, not a personal moral choice. There's nothing wrong at all with liking meat, but OP is absolutely the type to go, you're making me eat the yucky vegan food, when there's a shocking number of vegan dishes that could pass for non-vegan. Not everything, but a lot of it, and it has come a long way in the past 10 years. Is OP the a-hole just for asking? I don't think so. It never really hurts to ask. But the harder they insist on it, especially when she's the one that's hosting, would make them the a-hole. Reply 3: I agree with you on the condition that the sister is making an effort to include vegan dishes that appeal to a wider audience, and has confirmed there are at least some dishes all attendees are willing to eat. I have vegan relatives who eat meat alternatives and other foods that are, to put it nicely, an acquired taste for anyone who does not follow a similar diet. However, there are plenty of accidentally vegan products as well as mainstream recipes that either don't include animal products or only include animal products that can be substituted or omitted without significantly impacting the taste, texture, or appearance of the food. If the sister is using this as an opportunity to punish non-vegan relatives by serving nothing but tofu or nut loaf or whatever it is the family finds off-putting, then she's AH here. The family should respect her beliefs while in her home, but she also has a social obligation as a host to accommodate her guests to the extent that this is possible without animal products. Reply 4: right, I hope there's some basic non-animal food being presented that people won't be intimidated by. Hummus and some kind of carby carrier, leafy type salad, bread, fruit veggie tray, chips, beans and rice, some kind of familiar dessert, chocolate cake is pretty easy to do vegan. If those things are included, I don't feel too bad about the situation. My family deals with ARFID-type issues, and we were picking out what we could get people to eat anyway. But if it's all unrecognizable salads, mixing unfamiliar ingredients, and the like, the sister is the a-hole. Reply 5. Agreed. It's her home and her cooking. If she doesn't want to have animal products in her house and it's going to be such a problem, just have a plan for after. I mean, it's not all salads and fake meat. Oreos are vegan. There's a difference between accommodating someone with a specific diet and complaining about having to eat food without animal products. I doubt she's going to evangelize them. She just wants to show off vegan food that tastes good, especially when so many people insist that food without meat and dairy and such has to be gross and not filling enough. I bet she could make a few dishes and never tell anyone they're vegan. And the people eating wouldn't know unless she said so. She's had years to be the stereotypical vegan, and she's had to deal with her choices being limited. No one's choices are being limited here, unless it's something like a person that's allergic to nuts, and she uses a lot of nut-based dairy alternatives in everything, and I'm sure she'd be happy to cook for certain allergies. No one is having their choices cut down to just eat the bread, or well, we made you a salad. Here, in my opinion, these are adults that need to be open to something new, instead of deciding beforehand that it's just not going to work for them. If someone just can't stand not having animal products on the table, maybe she'd be okay with having people bring a couple of dishes, so she isn't the one buying said products and is avoiding potential cross-contamination during the cooking process. Response 2. Have to go with you're the a-hole. It's one meal, and she'll be serving food that everyone can eat, and it's perfectly possible for her to be an amazing host without catering to people's preference for meat dishes. If a friend whose religion forbids pork invites me to their place for breakfast, the fact there's no bacon with my pancakes isn't them forcing their beliefs onto me. But if I ask them to provide bacon because it's my preference, I'd for sure be disrespecting their beliefs. Reply 1. I agree. She hosts, she cooks, so she decides the menu. Others don't get a say in the menu unless it's a food allergy intolerance, but individual personal preferences don't really matter, at least not when there are several guests invited and not just one or two guests she hosts. You're the a-hole. Taking into account someone's personal dietary preferences is a courtesy and not a necessity. Medical issues like allergies are different, in my opinion. If someone doesn't like the menu, there's nothing on the menu they would want to eat, then they are free to decline the invitation and not attend. But trying to dictate what the host cooks and serves in their own home is entitled, in my opinion. And that's why I think OP is an a-hole. Reply 2. This so much. Let's replace meat with something like French cheese. I've never heard someone expecting their lactose-intolerant friend to make them cheese, since, well, they cook cheeseless at their place. Or have you ever demanded beans, broccoli, carrots? But for some reason, when it's meat, everyone gets so silly and needy about it. As a vegetarian, I used to always solve the problem by serving my meals together with the tiniest side bowl of meat sprinkles. And suddenly my offensively obtrusive vegetarian campaign became an amazing dish. Idiots. You're the a-hole. Reply 3. Also, as someone who's been vegetarian for a decade, I know there's always a chance that I won't be able to eat at any given family event. It's the one event that's being hosted at her place. Also, cooking meat is so gross to me. I'm not judging meat eaters or whatever, and I'm not going to start gagging if someone next to me is eating it, but my hard line is prepping it. The texture, the smell, nasty. They should have picked someone else to host if they can't handle the food. Reply 4. To be fair, the OP says that the entire family has always made sure that she had ample things to eat at every family gathering. This isn't a case of her wanting to be able to have food she can eat at a gathering for once. They always make sure she has food to eat. That being said, I think there's no harm in them having a vegan meal to give it a go. If it is a flop, then they know for next time to not have her host. Vegan food can be amazing, though, when it isn't trying to pretend to be something non-vegan. Reply 5. There's a difference between having a preference for something you want to eat X meat, and a food that you can't eat, X and meat to a vegan. If there was a person who couldn't eat carrots, it may be reasonable to ask that the host make sure there was some portion of the meal that didn't have carrots. If I like all of my meals to include white truffles, it would not be reasonable for me to ask the host if some portion of the meal included white truffles. If the family was all allergic to all vegan food, I would absolutely expect OP to make a meat dish, but that's clearly not the case. Response 3. No a-holes here, but this is totally on you guys, not on her. You guys apparently had agreed that she should be the next host, and vegans have an ethical stance against purchasing animal products for any reason, so I'm not sure what was expected from this. If you wanted animal products to be served, I don't know why you all agreed on her being allowed to host in the first place. Asking her to pay for and serve animal products is asking her to compromise her morals and her beliefs. It's just crappy. Reply 1. Yeah, I feel like OP would be an a-hole to ask his sister to cook meat dishes as a vegan. Maybe a compromise would be to do it potluck style and allow people to bring meat dishes but not ask the sister to cook them. Though I could also see this being a crap show if your relatives are petty. But as an omnivore meat eater, the family could also just suck it up. It's one meal, you'll be fine. Try some new dishes you haven't had before. It's not a big deal. Reply 2. It's not just about meat though, it's about dairy. I'm fine with not eating meat for a day, but food prepared without milk or butter or eggs is a whole other thing. Maybe no meat dishes, but people can bring non-vegan sides as potluck dishes. At least that way people can have a roll with butter if they really get hungry. Reply 3. Yeah, veganism is a whole different animal from vegetarianism. I routinely cook for 50+ people on a tight budget as a part of my job, and can accommodate the handful of gluten-free, vegetarian, and low-carb attendees relatively easily. Throw in vegan, though, and almost nothing we serve works. Now, I don't mind eating a vegan meal that someone has made for me, although it probably wouldn't have worked when I was on a keto diet, but I would feel a little sad if a family reunion had none of the traditional dishes I expected. However, I think allowing people to bring sides and desserts would be a better compromise than making the hostess cook things she's not comfortable with. Reply 4. There are some vegan dishes that are delicious. Then there are some that I am convinced they have just tricked themselves into thinking they like because they don't have the option for something that tastes better. I haven't had vegan cheese dishes that have compared to the real thing, in my opinion. Depending on what sister is cooking, it could be gross, or it could be delicious. I wouldn't be a fan of certain preparations of tofu and vegan cheese, but I'll eat the hell out of some vegan black bean brownies. If she's doing it as a vegan evangelical thing and trying to push food, most people wouldn't like. It's kinda a dick move. But making vegan dishes they might not even know are vegan or think about as being vegan would be totally appropriate. Response 4. I've been a vegan for over 20 years. I wouldn't attempt to cook meat for someone. I wouldn't even know where to start. I'd order food with meat in it, or I would be fine with someone bringing a meat dish they prepared. Everyone has different comfort levels with meat and with vegan food. On the meat eater's side, some vegan food can upset their stomachs if they aren't used to imitation products. On the vegan side, I'm not comfortable handling raw meat, and that's pretty reasonable to not ask her to do it. It's one meal. A compromise shouldn't be this hard. Reply 1. I'm not sure why people are complaining. No one is out there eating French fries and complaining that they're vegan. People hear vegan and their mind goes wild. Meanwhile, they're eating all sorts of vegan things willingly. I bet they even eat noodles with marinara sauce and don't think about it. People are so weird about food. They act like they'll die if they miss meat or cheese in one meal. Reply 2. Agreed. Some of the people are blowing my mind with closed-mindedness. Even before I was vegetarian, I didn't like seafood, so I would refuse to make it. I would refuse to cook fish for someone, and to be honest, never allowed it in my home because the smell made me sick. Everyone is allowed to have dietary preferences and to introduce them to others. If people really take issue, just don't go. I'm tired of people being afraid of vegan food and acting like it imposes on their rights. OP, you're the a-hole. Don't ask a Jewish person to make non-kosher food. Don't ask a Muslim to cook non-halal. Don't ask someone from India to cook beef. You can ask that omnivore-friendly vegan food be made, e.g. no artificial meat, but allow your sister to have her moment. Everyone will live, as long as there's still respect for food allergies. Reply 3. I've been a vegetarian, not vegan, for more than 20 years. And I would be the same. I would mind meat being served in my house, but would not be keen on handling or cooking it, although I have done so when my children were young. I think OP's sister would not be hosting if she can't handle people bringing their own food. Her family has supported her food choices by providing vegan meals when they have hosted. She should return the same understanding. I have had a fair share of vegan meals, as this now seems to be the only alternative to meat dishes in many restaurants. It's not my preference, but I can accept it as the only option. It's a wider jump to expect meat eaters to be happy on a special occasion meal. Reply 4. Personally, I've never heard of a family reunion where the responsibility to provide the food fell on a single person/family. The ones I've been to have always been potluck, or people have signed up for or been assigned certain dishes. I think people are overlooking how important food can be within a family. Reunions are all about nostalgia and reminiscing. Nearly all families' get-togethers are either centered on or include food. Who doesn't want some of Aunt Janet's non-vegan chicken salad, a piece of Grandma's non-vegan lemon meringue pie, or Cousin Mary's non-vegan lime jello salad with shredded cabbage and carrots? Ha! Just kidding. FS, the sister works at a fast food place, so her proclaimed dedication to veganism cannot be that much of a sincerely held belief. Can people eat a meal without animal products? Of course. Can they do so without complaining about it? Highly doubtful. So the chance of the sister not pissing off a lot of people by insisting on forcing everyone to eat vegan food is nil. So what's the point of having a reunion if a number of people are going to be pissed off? Kind of defeats the purpose. Sister has an agenda and is bound and determined to see it through, regardless of the cost. Sister needs to recognize that the purpose of a reunion is unity, not divisiveness, and allow others to bring whatever it is they wish to eat. OP is not the a-hole. Response 5. She's catering and ensuring that everyone has something they can eat, allowing for allergies, dietary requirements, etc., even if it isn't what they'd normally eat. I've worked in catering and have frequently heard, "Oh no, I don't want that, it's vegan." One free sample later, and they've chosen to order that same menu item, despite non-vegan items being available. It's just prejudice. Your family sounds like they're being very closed-minded. They can go without animal products for one meal. It won't hurt them. And nor do they have an ethical position that mandates eating animal products at every meal. You're the a-hole. Reply 1. This is the ticket here. It's not like omnivores can't eat plant-based food because it doesn't have animal products involved. Omnivores just don't want to eat plant-based food because they can't imagine not eating meat in every single meal. You're the a-hole. Suck it up. Eat your greens and stop by McDonald's on the way home if you're desperate to eat a dead animal. I say all of this as an avid meat-eating omnivore who eats plant-based food often for my family. Reply 2. Totally agree. I eat a ton of meat, but since I can't eat dairy, my side dishes are usually vegan by default. Vegan food is really delicious when made right. I had a vegan Philly steak sandwich in Vegas once, for example, and it was better than any normal Philly I've had. Like, I still dream about that sandwich. OP and their family are being prissy and overdramatic for no reason. The food will likely be delicious, and even if you hate it, is suffering through one meal so bad if the alternative is making your sister feel like an ass about something she was initially excited to do for y'all. You're the a-hole, OP, and your family sounds either chronically bored or chronically boring if they're making this into an issue. Response 6. You're the a-hole. Suck it up for one meal. I am not a vegan or any form of vegetarian. However, sometimes we do things for people we love. Eating a meal made by someone you love, surrounded by people you love, is a pretty easy sacrifice to make. If this family reunion is Thanksgiving, then I will definitely have some honey-baked ham and turkey ready for me when I get home. Yeah, and all the sides too. Reply 1. Love this take. I love meat. Eat it way too much, probably. Smoking a pork shoulder right now. but I can survive one vegan meal for the sake of my family from time to time. And if I need to hide a bag of beef jerky in my car for the drive home, I can do that too. Response 7. You're the a-hole. It's one meal. Okay, fair enough if she spends the entire reunion as a lecture on veganism and actively tries to make her guests feel guilty. That would be wrong. But it's a vegan-hosted party. I really don't see the wrong in her showcasing vegan food there, as everyone can eat it. The logic of, we accommodate your diet, why not ours, isn't as sound as you think it is. Her diet has to be accommodated for, as her diet doesn't conform to the norms, and she wouldn't have anything to eat if nobody actively thought to. Whereas, everybody can eat what she's offering, they just don't want to. I honestly just think this is more about it being vegan than anything else. When I worked in a pub, we would write up new beers on chalkboard menus. I remember changing the sign to a new beer. The same guy who had bought it earlier and liked it came in a couple of days later after I had added to the chalkboard vegan. I'd forgotten when I first changed it and updated it later. He must have forgotten he'd already tried it and absolutely balked at the idea of a vegan beer. Haha. Same thing when I used to hand out free hot meals for Food Not Bombs, which, if you don't know, is an organization that uses binned food from supermarkets to use up otherwise wasted food from being sent to landfills. Had a couple of people happy enough to grab a free bowl, knowing it was from a bin, but as soon as I said vegan, would put it down again. Haha. It's one meal though. It really won't hurt your family to try out her food. Reply 1. Honestly, I think she may have been better off just not mentioning that it would be vegan. If she wanted, she could just supply the menu in advance. If the food was yummy and attractive and abundant and familiar enough, I bet no one would complain much, if at all. She could do firecracker corn on the cob, baked beans, barbecue jackfruit sliders, styled like pulled pork, French fries, salad, chips and guacamole, a fruit platter, green beans, potato salad, macaroni salad, made with vegan mayonnaise. I bet she wouldn't have to mention it and no one would think to question it. Cornbread, a huge pot of bean chili, and a whole fresh watermelon. Ice pops for dessert, beer, and frosé for the grown-ups. Toast vegan marshmallows, legit indistinguishable from non-vegan ones, which are increasingly rare. Reply 2, so true. It doesn't seem like this is an event where there's an expectation of a specific food, a la Thanksgiving, so this really should be a non-issue. People eat stuff that is vegan or very close to being vegan all the time and just don't even think about it. It's also sad when people won't try food just because it's a dietary restriction. Some of my favorite things I had at the dining halls when I was in college were funky vegan options that I thought sounded interesting and tried. Vegan red pepper hummus, quesadillas go so hard. I do dip them in sour cream though. Although if you try this at home, ask me for the ingredients because you need the right balance or it tastes like nasty hot hummus. Response 8. You're the a-hole. It's one meal and she's hosting. People act like vegan meals come from Martian farms via teleportation. It's literally just everything you eat except for the meat, dairy, and eggs. Honey, if you're going to be weird about it. It's like someone says the word vegan, and people forget they have been eating vegetables and fruits for years. Oreos are vegan. There will probably be a fruit tray, some vegetables and dips, and some larger family-style dishes. If you are interested in being helpful, let her know some things you think will be crowd pleasers. A burrito bar? Baked beans? Grilled vegetables? If anyone is upset, they can do whatever vegans have done for decades and bring a little something for themselves or eat before or after. If you want to offer some good faith help, remind your sister that a lot of people are sensitive to soy and that she will want to label any food that has unexpected ingredients so nobody eats anything they're allergic to. Response 9. Oh, come on. It's not like vegans eat only lima beans and onions. Is your sister in charge of the food? If you didn't want a vegan person to make all the food, you should have picked someone else. You can't expect a vegan to make beef stew. People will absolutely live after eating a vegan meal. Do you know what's a vegan meal? Pasta and red sauce without meatballs, served with French bread and oil for dipping. You have eaten lots of vegan meals in your life without realizing it. Peanut butter and jelly. Life will continue, and most people won't even notice that everything is vegan. Reply 1. meatless chili and cornbread. I like it with just beans, but those Beyond Meat products are really hard to cook as fake meat if you put it in a dish with heavy sauce spices. Falafel wraps, hummus and veggie sandwiches with olive tapenade, potato croquettes, tofu scramble. I'm not vegan or vegetarian, but sometimes I honestly prefer the food because it's usually more intentionally prepared to really bring out the flavors of the ingredients. Reply 2. I'd add the caveat that imitation meats can be hard to digest, and I'd recommend not serving a tableful of them to meat eaters. I'd rather have less processed foods when served a vegan meal. I've tried a burrito with imitation meat, and it was delicious, but the aftermath was not pretty. A vegan burrito with just beans, rice, guac, and a little cilantro? Delicious and not so tough on the tummy. Response 10. You're the a-hole. She is hosting, so it is her house, her rules. She isn't starving people or forcing them to eat anything that goes against their beliefs. One meal without animal products is perfectly nutritious. Hopefully, your family will learn something as they enjoy veggie platters, hummus, fruits and nuts, pasta with red sauce and creamy sauces, veggie burgers with toppings, Oreos, frozen desserts, etc. Reply 1. This reminds me of the people who freak out if there's no alcohol at a wedding. I always think, how much of an alcoholic are you that you can't go to one event or enjoy one event without drinking? This feels the same. I'm a huge meat eater, but it wouldn't kill me to eat vegan for a day. If I don't care for the food, I just eat later when I get home. It's hardly the end of the world. Reply 2. 100%. Yeah, if you normally attend weddings with alcohol, a dry wedding might seem unusual, and depending on the company, maybe a little or a lot boring. So it's nice to have an expectation. That being said, I agree. If you refuse to attend an otherwise lovely and accessible wedding in the absence of booze, maybe that's an indication to take a look at your life choices, and at least your friendship. This is One Meal, hosted by a vegan. I would never expect a vegan to serve me non-vegan food. Plus, tons of delicious vegan food out there, some of which isn't even out there, and people simply don't realize it is vegan. They'll be fine, they're just being grumpy for the sake of grumpiness. Response 11. Kind of shocked by the number of "you're the a-hole" judgments. OP didn't do anything a-hole-ish by asking if she would be open to having some non-vegan options. She did it to make the host aware of potential problems because, as we know, older family members tend to get hostile when things aren't the way they want. She's in no way saying things have to be a certain way. She's just trying to have a family gathering without conflict. Clearly, not the a-hole. Reply 1. Yeah, I'm surprised at how mean people are. Holidays are not her wedding or her birthday. The goal is for everyone to have a good time and be together, and sometimes we have to make compromises to do that. I think it's no a-holes here, but it depends on how unreasonable the sister is, and if OP was being reasonable in their compromise ideas. As a host for a holiday event, you should be trying to make sure that within reason, your guests will enjoy themselves. A lot of vegan food is delicious, but a lot is bad, lol. And people have hang-ups about traditional foods or trying new dishes at a time when they want familiarity. In no way should OP or the fam expect her to cook with animal products in her own home, and if they are, they're massive a-holes. But OP said they consistently provide vegan food for her, so I don't think it's unreasonable to ask if people can bring a vegetarian dish, or to at least ensure that some of the vegan dishes are foods the older folks will enjoy. Also, everyone's hung up on the meat, but no milk, no butter, no meat fats or stocks, no gravy, no cheese, no gelatin, no honey, no cream, no eggs, etc. She isn't vegetarian. All animal products are off the table. It's not a huge deal, but many traditional holiday foods use those ingredients, and your mileage may vary on the vegan substitutes.